Nothing happens unless you take action, but you can still envision it, right? So she's talked about bringing that energy into the manifestation, and that is how you act until the thing actually happens, right? So believing in the vision, then take action to make it happen, because nothing can be manifested without taking action.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It interview recap, where my co-host in life, Brad, and I are going to dig into the energizing convo I had with Kareen Walsh in our last episode. If you haven't yet listened to that episode, you should listen to it at some point this week for all the amazing reasons that we're going to talk about in this episode. But first, today is July 25th, 2024, and it's Earth Overshoot Day. So about this day, we're observing Earth Overshoot Day on July 25th. This is a serious day for all of us to reconsider our way of life and usage of natural resources. Our Mother Earth can only regenerate resources at a finite rate, but we're utilizing it more than this rate every year. Earth Overshoot Day was introduced to raise awareness about the resource shortage that we are creating with our modern lifestyle. Once the regeneration of resources is at its limit, we exploit what is left of the resources, making the situation even worse. Andrew Sims started the idea behind Earth Overshoot Day to track the ecological resources and services we use from nature. By the way, not that he needs any downloads from us, but John Oliver did a really cool episode recently about the mining of the oceans. And it's very fascinating because people are trying to say this is where we have to go for more resources for batteries. And we do not. There are other ways to do it. So please educate yourself on these things. And as someone who was born and raised in a drought and turns their lights off in every room as they go into them, like, you can do those things too. It's very simple. So take care of the resources you have. It's and that doesn't mean hoard. It just means, like, be thoughtful about things. If you live in a place that gets lots of rain, just know some of us don't have any. So just be thoughtful. Okay? Be thoughtful.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about this, go to overshoot.footprintnetwork.org and you'll find more about that. Earth Overshoot Day.
Cool. Amazing. Okay. We are days away from taking off for our 6th tour powered by Balanced Body. So we are super, super excited. We are hitting 13 cities in 15 days.
Holy cow.
Holy freaking moly. I'm excited to see how this turns out. And many of those cities are selling out or sold out. So you'll want to go to opc.me/tour to get your spot.
Yeah.
You do not have to have a lot of experience doing Pilates to come. You can bring your friend. I just invited the real estate agent who shows me every new listing in my neighborhood. And I said, okay, great. I'm not going to come see this open house because I have one, but you should come to my pop-up. And she is. She's totally coming. So opc.me/tour to grab your tickets to our 13 cities. It's Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, Denver, Lincoln, Nebraska, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Chicago. You know where that's at. Cleveland. That's the same. You know where that is too. Dayton, Ohio.
Indianapolis, Indiana. St.
Louis, and Kansas City.
And then Colorado Springs. Yeah.
And because there's 2 Kansas cities, we should just say it's Kansas City, Kansas. So there you go.
There's also 2 St. Louis's.
Well, shit.
It's also split by a river.
No one talks about that other one then. So my Elevate mentorship program for 2025, the application doors are open. We've accepted a ton of people. And at the time that we're recording this, I have no idea if there's spots available, but there might be. So you should check it out. So you don't have to wait till 2026. If you're a Pilates instructor who is wanting to really understand the method in a way that gives you freedom and permission to not overplan, overcue, overcorrect, overtalk, and also prioritizes your practice first, go to lesleylogan.co/elevate.
Yeah. lesleylogan.co/elevate. Next up, Cambodia, February 2025. We're going to be taking another group with us, and we got a few spots left for that. crowsnestretreats.com, crowsnestretreats.com. And you've heard us wax eloquently about Cambodia over the years, so I'm going to trust you've already heard us talk about that. But I'm telling you, you got to come. It's worth it. Next up, we got OPC. As you know, OPC is an amazing place where you can take classes, workshops, find exercises. By the way, we've like 400 free tutorials or something. I can't remember how many tutorials on there. So it's an incredible resource that you can be tapping into if you haven't already been doing that. And we have added 2 new teachers. So we're really excited about that.
And we've added that you can take a class for up to 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and we can. Yeah, that's right. Now we've actually got 2 classes available a week. We're going to be overlapping them, so you'll have access to a class for 2 weeks. So if you were sick on week 1, no worries. We'll keep that class up for a second week. So good news there. It's exciting. It's really cool to see it shift, change, and grow over the years. And that's because people just like you are joining us in there. But if you haven't yet, or you want to come back and join us again, go to opc.me/4040. opc.me/40. Take a 40-day trial for $40.
It's like 40 days and 40 nights, but really it's 40 for 40.
It's 40 for 40.
Yeah.
And then from there, it rolls into a membership of your choice, right? So we've got, based on the different equipment you have access to, opc.me/40.
All right. We have an audience question before we get into our recap of Kareen. So Brad, what is it?
We sure do. This is from Sloth Papa on YouTube.
What a great name.
Hell yeah, Sloth Papa. He asked, how did you like going from the Studio Reformer to the Contrology line? So for those of you who don't know what that means, this is a different line of Pilates equipment, the Studio Reformer
Balanced
line.
Body creates a Studio Reformer, and they also create Contrology.
Balanced Body creates both Studio Reformer line and Contrology. He said, I recently got a Studio Reformer and replaced the wheels with bushings for more of a muddy drag classical feel. I love it, but I can't help think that I'm missing out on a classical reformer. What are your thoughts?
You are.
Yeah. Sorry, Sloth Papa, you are. That's the answer.
And I say this with all the love and kindness. And remember, we are powered by Balanced Body for our tours. So I teach on a lot of Studio Reformers. And here is the deal. You can lengthen your straps to be as long as a leather strap would be. You can add handles, which would create more of a handle-like feeling. But you can't change the springs. And even if you add the bushing for a more muddy feel, you still can't change the fact that the ropes don't act like leather. And the springs don't have a long neck, which means the springs still close the equipment. You don't close the equipment.
Got to get those long necks.
So on the Contrology line, when the spring is closed, the carriage is not closed. For those of you who've never run a reformer, this is really boring. That being said, it's really amazing and it's incredible. And I love that you're getting as creative as you can with what you have. And I will also say, if you really want a classical feel, you can sell your Studio Reformer for probably full price to someone who needs it. And you can get yourself the Contrology line. And by the way, if you love your Studio Reformer, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, if you're like, we can only make so many changes to something before it's not the same thing. And by the way, if you are using a Studio Reformer, taking classical classes, drop your ropes on your risers, people. Drop them all the way down. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, we're about to get the episode. And so thanks for sticking through it. Send your question in and we will answer it. Doesn't have to be Pilates, can be life, can be music, can be anything. We want to answer your questions because we love giving you honest feedback. So if you want Contrology, we do have an affiliate. So grab our link, save some money, or hit me up with your email and I'll connect with my salesperson so you can go right to the source.
Yeah. But otherwise you can find that at opc.me/perks, opc.me/perks. Stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, now let's talk about Kareen Walsh. Kareen Walsh is a seasoned entrepreneur known for building 7-figure businesses and is celebrated as the ultimate business healer. Her purpose is to be a conduit to help others manifest and materialize their dreams. She is also a top business strategist, coach, and investor, and the host of the podcast, Your Badass Journey, where she shares insights and stories to inspire and empower her audience, aiming to accelerate their growth by leveraging her lessons learned over more than a decade in the corporate world and then being a business owner herself. I guess that's probably more than a decade on those two things. Okay. As you may or may not know, you may or may not know this, Kareen, we have been coaching with Kareen for a number of years. Yeah. She has actually been, uniquely responsible for some changes in our business that made our lives a whole lot better, which is, I'm alluding to us switching hats a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And not only that, but has been, become a friend and a really amazing brainstorming buddy, and still someone who, is very invested in what we're doing. And it's been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we love her. And in fact, we are going to have some more changes because we got to hash some stuff out with her, which is great. So we wanted to bring her back because her life has changed so much since she was back first on the show.
Oh yeah. I think she was 2021.
Oh, for sure. She was like episode 17 or 57. At any rate, it was like she was and she was so great. Brad's going to see which number I'm correct or not correct with, but she's so great. And I wanted to bring her back on because I think it's really cool for you guys to see how someone can be it till you see it again and again and again. And so one of the things that we got to talk about was about procrastination and how it shows up in something you don't really want.
You were very close.
What?
Episode 27 and 28.
Oh, there we go.
And now 397.
Ooh. Woo. Okay.
And this is 398.
That's amazing. Okay. Well, clearly she's got some numbers in there. So we were talking about how procrastination shows up in something you don't really want. So like if you really want it, you'll take action towards it. But the perfectionist has hesitation on putting out anything until it feels absolute. And absolute is really hard in the human world because we are meant to be a little messy, which attracts other messy people, which is like actually like not a bad thing. There's a difference between dirty and messy, just so you know. And it believes it's not about perfection that causes hesitation to put your real self out in the world. I actually thought this was really interesting because I have always attributed to like you procrastinate on things that you don't really have a goal around or you haven't attached it to your goal in a way that makes you want to do it. And it's kind of like the same thing. She's like, you don't really want it. And so if, like we procrastinate on the things we don't really want. And if you're like, no, Lesley, I really want this thing, but I just am too scared because I'm like, you don't really want, like, get honest about, because if you really, really wanted it, you would actually take action because people do. Like, it's like as simple as like, if he really likes you, he'll call. It's just like that. If you really wanted something, you actually figured a way to pay for it. I'll tell you right now, there are some chairs in this house that we did not need, but I really wanted them. And I figured out a way to make sure I could get them. So like we do take action towards things you really want. So if you are finding yourself procrastinating on perfectionism, it's because you haven't figured out how you connect it to something you really want to do. And, or you are not allowing yourself to be a little bit messy in this messy world and to explore what comes from that, which is probably a lot more fun.
Yeah. One of the things that I really dug, she was talking about monotony and self-reflection or introspection, right? So she said, when life becomes monotonous, we often convince ourselves that we are fine without that introspection. And I felt like her argument against that was pretty solid. She said that we have to have an inner awakening. It has to happen. She was specifically talking about, well, in this case, her life wasn't monotonous, but in the same way, on the flip side, she had to still do introspection because during COVID, her business really grew amazingly. Like it like really, really took off. And she realized I got to show up as a different person now. And it took a lot of introspection to do what she did and to make the changes that she made in her life. But in what she was talking about here is when we feel like life is boring or monotonous, that same inner awakening needs to happen. We need to actually shake it up and allow ourselves to dream again, right? Because the worthiness of dreaming again is tied to recognizing your self-worth. This is really interesting, right? We get into a groove. We forget why we got into this groove in the first place, even though we might have felt like there was a reason to get in here. A couple years down the line, you're in a rut. You're just running the same play every single day. And then the idea of changing out of that can seem a little scary. And also it's like, well, I got here for a reason. Why am I here? And so we don't actually look at ourselves with value to set aside time to think about change, let alone making the change. I mean, just to even conceptualize it. So I love this idea of shaking it up, allowing yourself to dream again. When you dream, you're telling yourself that you have value. And a lot of us don't allow ourselves to dream because we're afraid. Right? And we're devaluing ourselves. She said, allow yourself to realize that how you've been showing up and who you've been showing up for is no longer who you actually desire to be. Maybe you are ready to change. Maybe you're ready to change a lot of things for herself. And the challenge she asked us was, what is that version of me that I want to show up as? What do I want me to actually look like? And it's funny because I think, especially when you're in high school and college, you're like, how do I want people to perceive me? And today, it's been so long since we made that decision, we kind of forget and we're just who we are. And we're like, oh yeah, this is me, take it or leave it. And that's fine. But also, what if you thought about that again now? Yeah. What if you thought, well, I could change again. I could actually grow again now at this point in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty awesome.
I do like the question of like, what do I want the version of me to look like? Because that's a be it till you see it. That's a great be it till you see question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. She said, aim for the most outstanding version of yourself because that's going to bring you excellent results. Stick around. All right, finally, let's talk about those. Say it with me. Be it action items. What bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted action items can we take away from your convo with Kareen Walsh? Well,
I hope everyone can say it with you by now. It's episode 398. We've done this 199 times.
Yeah, it's true. A lot. A lot. So her be it till you see it approach is energy is how you act in it until it actually happens. Energy is how you act in it until it actually happens. Believing in your vision, take action to make it happen. Let me clarify this. You two were talking about manifestation.
Yeah.
Right? And the manifestation was, we think of manifestation and it's like, I wished it into being. And she was like, oh, hell no, that's not manifestation. That's just like hope, wish marketing, right?
Yeah.
She said, you still had to take action. Nothing happens unless you take action, but you can still envision it, right? So she's talked about bringing that energy into the manifestation, and that is how you act until the thing actually happens, right? So believing in the vision, then take action to make it happen because nothing can be manifested without taking action. She advised to get clear on your perspective and how you treat yourself in the process, right? So just think back a little bit. We were talking about dreaming, putting value on yourself. She talked about how do I want to show up in this space and who do I want to turn into? Who do I want to be? Continuous growth and evolving is hard, but to fully visualize, it can help determine the stance that you want. Okay. And what about you?
I really like that she said, as an action item, step into a life of integrity of whom you're meant to become. Look inward and assess where you are out of integrity. So this goes back to last week's episode with the values thing. It's like kind of amazing how these two go back to back together so well. But do a self-assessment of who you are and just notice if you believe that you are someone who shows up when they say they're going to, and you are someone who fuels themselves properly and you rest, then if you are staying up late watching Netflix and you're showing up late to your own job that you've already created and hitting snooze, then you're out of integrity with who you are. And of course, it's going to be frustrating. Of course, it's going to even feel monotonous or even not fun. And so really, truly taking some time to look at where you are in alignment with your values and also where you're out of integrity with them. And then you can make some changes so you can do the inner work to fix all of that. And if you are able to do that, then you'll have a better, clearer lens on what you truly desire, what she said. And what you want to actually becomes very clear. But it's an inner work, so it takes a lot of time. So you've got to give yourself that permission. But without it, it's just more noise. You're just going to be ingesting more and more tips and not actually integrating them. So there you go.
Yeah. No, I thought it was, there's quite a challenge there to be willing to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not fun. It's not fun to go, oh, I'm the problem. It's me. It's the only Taylor Swift song I know, guys. And I really love it. I constantly I'm like, oh, hi, I'm the problem. It's me. And you know what? The more you do that, it goes back to Brad Bizjack, who we've got on the podcast. He was like, responsibility is you are able to respond. When you take responsibility for something, it means you are able to respond. And so things you don't like in your life, things you do like in your life, you can actually have the ability to respond. You have to do the inner work, and it's not easy. It's not fun, but you get to have the life of integrity and you get to have the life that you want. And it's really, really cool. I'm Lesley Logan.
And I'm Brad Crowell.
How are you going to use these tips in your life today? Let us know. Tag Kareen, tag the Be It Pod, share this with a friend who needs to hear it. That is how this podcast grows. We're going to be dropping episode 400 very, very soon.
What?
It is my favorite guest in life. Dream guest. Huge guest. And so it would mean the world to me if you share all of this episode to as many people as possible so that they get the 400th episode into their downloads on the day it drops. So we can have the biggest day of downloads ever, 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 ever.
Ever.
Okay, ever. Thank you so much. And until next time, be it till you see it.
Bye for now.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Beit Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at beitpod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the epic team at Diseño.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.